Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Danny. We are reacting to what we have just witnessed as Denzel Bentley has become a three-time British champion by outpointing Brad Pauls at the main event at the Queensberry card, of course, at Magnificent Seven. Scorecards read 117, 110, 116, 111, and 115, 112. Maybe one of those cards perhaps a bit wide. I don't know what you think, Danny, but yeah, your immediate reaction to what we've just seen there.
Yeah, the right man won, of course. I do think the first scorecard, 117, 110, is quite wide. I mean, that's given Brad Paul 3 rounds. I think he won at least 4 or 5. Yeah, it was actually a really good fight to watch. It was a slow start, particularly because I think Brad Pauls just didn't get going in those early rounds and sort of gifted Denzel Bentley, particularly the first three. Came in a bit in the fourth, but still a Bentley round. But after that, Pauls was winning rounds, arguably, I thought, in better fashion than Bentley was in the early stages. And I thought the fight was going his way. I thought Pauls was going to want to win it. But obviously, the knockdown was a key moment. I think Bentley, before the knockdown, still did get more of a foothold and picked up a round before that. I mean, and he only would have needed two more. Knockdown was a weird one, wasn't it? I think the commentary mentioned they think maybe a thumb from the
Yeah.
jab went in the eye, and I think that probably is what happened because the eye did sort of like start swelling and really did look to be causing Pauls a bit of discomfort. But no, really enjoyed the fight. And yeah, definitely the right man won. I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. It was a weird one because you mentioned like Brad Paul started very slow. You could have given Denzel Bentley first four rounds, no problem, 4-0. But then
Yeah.
from rounds five to eight, there's an argument there. You could have given them all to Brad Pauls, and then obviously from then maybe 9, 10 onwards, you were maybe giving them all to Denzel Bentley again. So it was almost like it was a fight of kind of you split it into thirds. It was a bit, which is a bit mad. I thought at one stage, Brad Pauls looked like he had the bit between his teeth and was going to maybe come out victorious there. But then, yeah, I think the round nine was a fairly even round. But yeah, I think what you mentioned, I think Denzel Bentley looked like he was biting down on the gum shield, and after having a few bad rounds, it looked like he knew that he needed to come back and react to that. And then, yeah, obviously the knockdown in round 10, all but sealing it, really. To be honest with
Yeah.
you, as you mentioned, a bit of an innocuous one. I think when it happened, I was like, what happened there? Was that a jab or one of them where you kind of just see a fighter take a knee and you think, oh dear, has he like proper has one of his eyes completely gone? Has he broken his jaw or something silly like that where you just feel instant pain? That's must have what it been. I think yeah, as you alluded to as well, the commentary team, the thumb in the eye is probably a good shout. Yeah, as we saw in the corner right after that, the eye completely swollen up and definitely couldn't see whether he could see anything out of it. Obviously, only Brad Paulson though, but it looked like he definitely would have had a bit of trouble with any vision out of that eye. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable fight, mate. It's one that yeah, I think it lived up to the hype, and it was a fairly good card overall. To be honest with you, a good performance on there from Sam Noakes as well. Before obviously those two first round knockouts as well from Okoli and David Adley as well. But yeah, enjoyable one, mate. And I think it was a good fight to round it off. What next then? 2025. Brad Pauls, obviously haven't beaten Nathan Heaney and won the title. Where does he go from there? And follow it up with what do you want to see Denzel Bentley do next?
Yeah, with Brad Pauls, there's obviously fights for him at that domestic level. I mean, Tyler Denny rematch, I'm sure there'll be some appetite for that. I think from yourself particularly, probably. He'll probably be he froze a bit in that fight more for a longer period. So he'll think he can get that back. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because I'm not sure what his promotional situation is, if he's got a long-term deal with Frank Warren, have to check that. In terms of Denzel Bentley, like this is sort of being billed as like a de facto final eliminator for the WBO, which is obviously held by Janabek. You'd imagine it's not going to be too long before Janabek moves up to super middleweight. He's had a lot of trouble making middleweight in the past. So I think they're sort of trying to wait him out and then Bentley fight potentially for a vacant title. I'm not sure who that would be against. And then obviously the long term plan, I think, if Hamza Shiraz is to beat Carlos Adames in February. I mean, that'll be some touch for Frank Warren if he manages to get Hamza Shiraz versus Denzel Bentley as a unification. I mean, he's really fucking pulled the cat out of the bag there. Like no disrespect. But I think that's probably the end game with a few hurdles maybe to pass before we get there. And it's yeah, it's a fight I'd be excited for. I think I know who I'd pick to win, but it's a fight I'd be excited for if we do get it next year at some point.
Yeah, for sure, mate, for sure. I think I'm open to the Brad Pauls Tyler Denny rematch for sure. You, as you mentioned, Brad Pauls will probably think to himself that he can definitely get that back. Tyler Denny obviously coming off that, he had an amazing run and then coming off that kind of emphatic defeat to Hamza Shiraz, who may well go on
Yeah.
to be one of the best middleweights in the world in the next, and I might prove it in the next couple of years. But yeah, I'm not against seeing. I'm not against seeing Brad Paul's Tyler Denny too. I'm also not against Denzel Bentley defending the British title against Tyler Denny. I know Tyler Denny's never won the British title. He obviously skipped that
Oh,
and
come on.
won the European. You know, I'm biased maybe, but I'm all for that fight as well. And I would actually give Tyler Denny a good chance there, I think. But yeah, anyway,
So would I.
I do believe yeah, I think that's Frank Warren in the past few years and he seems to have a really good relationship with the WBO. So wouldn't surprise me if, yeah, as you mentioned, if Denzel Bentley is able to get a vacant title shot in the future. Yeah, and imagine that. Imagine a unification with Hamza Shearers. I mean, that would be crazy. And I agree with you. I think a lot of people watching this kind of know what we're hinting at. I think I would be fairly confident who would be picking for that fight as well. But yeah, fair play, Denzel Bentley. Not a lot of people can say they've won the British title three times. He can.
Yeah.
Hope yeah, big. Hopefully, I'm sure he knows himself as well. Like although middleweight isn't stacked, I know we've talked about before. There are some very good fighters up at the top of the division and far better than, in my opinion, than Denzel Bentley. But boxing's a funny sport. Wouldn't surprise me if he was to get a world title shot in late 2025, depending on how the landscape looks.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Excuse me, Danny. So yeah, I can't disagree. But yeah, I loved that fight. Really enjoyed it. Denzel Bentley winning via unanimous decision against Brad Pauls to win the British title at middleweight. Who knows what's next, guys? Let us know in the comments what you think. Who you want to see Denzel Bentley fight next. Likely who you want to see Brad Pauls fight next as well. Please do drop a like on the video, and if you're not doing so already, please do hit that subscribe button as well. Danny, thanks very much for joining me, mate, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Cheers, Paul.